It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if I can reconstruct, but I had this like a lucid dream. I was playing with words, sentences, the block of chapter in my mind, and I'm just, I don't know how you can call this, like a Lego game. The block of sentences processed, and this is what I thought AI is doing. And I'm talking right now as if I can reproduce what I was doing in that lucid dream state of what happened. And what's interesting is this happens quite often recently, and it's always giving me a sense of solving the problem. So it's a dream state, but the point I want to share is that when AI does certain things, what is exactly the way that things happen and how they construct the sentence and move on. Construct a sentence meaning reading whatever is there. Let's say I'm talking into the YouTube, and this whole sentences that I produce here can be laid out like sentences after sentences all the way, and then when AI get to interpret what this is going on, it goes through a process one block at a time, and that's what I was going through in this state of my dreaming, lucid dream. I know I'm repeating, but I wanted to just have a sense of what I'm talking about first, and then get into this specific example that I had going on in my mind, and I was awake. So it's like a Lego game. I was looking at the block of a sentence or sentences, a chunk of the sentences, and I want to see how AI does it to execute how that block of sentences may be processed so that they do their job. I know I'm repeating, but I'm trying to recreate that moment. So what I remember is that I need to synthesize what was going on in processing the sentences one block at a time. And when you go to a new block after processing certain things, and the new block has a different nuances, different taste, as if, so that if I get to that block of sentences, it figures out in this manner. See if I can create what I was doing as if I was AI, so that the block of sentence has unique character as AI, as if I am AI. I notice that. And you can have a specific address for each of those words. and that address is registered in certain location in this configuring how to act upon processing these blocks of sentences as AI. So with the address, you can keep one block to be treated in certain way, and the next word or next block of sentences may have a different meaning. And by comparing those one block to the next block and assigning each of those blocks to be stored in certain location in this playground that you maneuver like a Lego game. So you can say that block A to be weighted, leave it there in address XYZ, and the second block has different meaning, so it is stored in the other block, in other addresses. And if you can have those maneuvering block by block, address to address, and each block is assigned to execute by knowing the meaning of that block, but the constructed meaning of other blocks that is already processed, because all the thing goes on one block at a time. I cannot explain well, but in that kind of a manner, you can think what value added process may be. Instead of choosing the low value added approach, you choose higher value added approach. And that's how the new state of digesting of the process, and therefore coming up with the answer, which is basically a process of thinking. And that each block is compared to all the memories database to relate to and this planet to keep on going. Something like that. And if we know that's how things happen in AI, to read the sentences And these sentences can be the ones like I'm right now talking into the video. And what I did, like what I have been doing, this whole chunk of seemingly random words combination happened. AI can go through one block at a time by categorizing each chunk of sentences and processing and meshing those together to come up with new meaning, which is to answer what I'm doing. So in this case, my mind is processing what I want to say and just putting those into sentences, and that's how I think. So I've done what I wanted to do. In this case, just characterize how I think. And that's all I do. And when I'm finished with this video, and have AI to process it for me, AI can say each step, each block going on, and reconfiguring that words by words, block by block, into certain category to be processed to come up with the meaning. Each block has its own character, and that is allocated in certain addresses. Leave it here, leave it there, like you call the palette, or a little garden to leave certain blocks of the words, and then configure the relationship between those blocks so that you can process each blocks and block by block process, and then synthesizing different blocks in certain value added. New chunk which is responding to the need that is to come up with the meaning of that whole series of chunks of blocks reconfigured, contrasting to the database to find the pattern and choose the pattern for each of those chunk of blocks to configure the sentence. So that's what I was doing. I'm not sure I'm explaining, but I'll like to ask AI to configure what I'm saying here so that the AI can tell me what I explain is what AI does. Because that's the kind of a picture I was in, that I was feeling like I'm an AI and looking at the sentences to find the meaning, constructing. And so far as you don't lose the address and the address of where things are captured and stored, and playing back and forth between the database and each word coming into processing, that gives the answer to whatever was talked about by me in this talk, in the video, so that chunk of words, each of the chunk may look random or to be treated random, but out of those randomness of the continuation of the words, AI find the proper arrangement of words as the answer to that state of words assembled by me to be reassembled by AI, such that the new meaning, which is the context of the stuff worked on, to be developed, so that all this mumbo jumbo words that I'm using can be processed by AI to say this whole mumbo jumbo means this, the pattern, according to what AI could figure out to contrast each chunk block of words to bring out the meaning of what it is. I don't know if what I said may make sense or not, but I just try to explain what I went through as I was in half sleep, lucid dream state. Because in that state I thought I figured out. And what I figured out can be meaningful for me to understand what AI does and what AI cannot do. And that's the point I was playing actually. But if you know the block by block and assemble process with database to figure out, and if I understand that, how it gets done, I can do this play of words and the logic and the sequence of how I put those together as a test case without me knowing what I'm doing, but by presenting that in that sentences and ask the question to AI, please interpret what I just said. This is what I think. Random thought, but please make sense out of it. And that's the kind of a relationship and what I'm thinking to what AI may be configuring the construct of the sentences and blocks to find the value added and the meaning out of it. Okay, this is the talk by Kiyo. AI look at the whole talk, sentence to sentence, block by block, and try to synthesize the meaning of it, contrasting to the database. that's the relationship of my thought in this case to AI to configure what I was doing. In AI's universe, so to speak, where AI has huge amount of data related to those patterns already developed and stored in its huge database to come up with the answer. I'm gonna stop and see what AI can do with what I have talked about this 20 minutes. As an experiment. So that was my dream state. Now AI, please interpret what I try to explain with your way of processing and write it out to summarize what I just said to what you know, so that maybe there's a way that I can get to know how you, AI, would process my random thought into something which I may understand, such that I know how you work.